guess that means it's time for me to do my talk, to do my thing here with you guys today, which is the power of perspective. But first, a joke. Man's walking up to a country store, sees a little boy sitting next to a very large dog, and asks the boy, is your dog friendly? And he goes, yeah. And so the man reaches out to pet the dog, and the dog bites him. And he's like, whoa, I thought you said your dog is friendly. And the boy says, this isn't my dog. Oh, God. Man. Somebody's not muted, so let's make sure everybody's muted. All right. Today, I am going to give you I'm going to tell you a creation story. Many of which you will know. But I want to give it to you in a different perspective. According to archaeologists and scientists and physicists and everybody, in the beginning, there was a big bang. It was a big bang. It was a big bang. And this bang sent all this hot, molten energy everywhere, started just spreading out all over the place. And soon, not soon, after billions of years, some of that stuff started to form into what we call stars. And then out of the stars, some of that stuff started forming into planets. And on some of those planets, life started to grow. How did that happen? How out of this big bang of nothing but energy did all of a sudden life show up? If it wasn't built into the premise in the first place, if it wasn't the DNA of the Big Bang itself to have life, how is there life? And so there's something built into the universe that wants to bring forth life. And not just any life, because as life continued to progress throughout time, it became more and more complex. It grew into beings with larger and larger awareness of themselves. In the beginning, there was nothing but this energy. And yet, as it moved along, something came out of it that had awareness of itself. Now, my understanding of the dinosaurs is they laid eggs and then, like lizards today, just left them. Had no care for what they had left, what they had born. Didn't think twice about it. Just moved on. But life continued to evolve to where all of a sudden there were mammals that actually, and creatures and birds that actually did care about its young. Something new arose out of this original Big Bang, out of this original awareness that grew to a point where there was an awareness of taking care of those that were like you. Time passed, continued to pass. This over a very long period of time. New creatures evolved that not only took care of their young anymore, but took care of those that they thought were part of their tribe. Packs. We call them pack animals. Pack animals showed up on this planet before human beings. Pack animals existed before we evolved enough to where human beings showed up. How did that happen? How did it evolve that way? There must be something in the basic DNA of the universe moving this whole thing forward from the beginning, because it's only gone in one direction. And that direction is care, is love, is caring more and more for those around. And so all of a sudden, human beings show up. And human beings do more than just packs. They do tribes. More and more people. And even though those people in this tribe take on and are violent and do not care about people in this other tribe, it is still at that time an evolution that had never showed up before, had never been here on this planet. How did that happen? How did that happen? That this universal force continued to move forward in a way where we kept seeing more and more care, more and more love. It moved forward even further, where tribes started to come together and care for each other in what we call societies and civilizations. That was the next development, where all of a sudden there was this systemic change that created something new called civilization. And out of civilization grew these incredible cities. Now, those cities still did not care about people in other cities, but this was still an evolution in caring, in love, that then grew to be countries. Over time, we saw that we can track the change of civilization to have grown into different countries, into kingdoms, where larger and larger groups cared about each other. We move forward in time, and we see now that there are alliances in this world that are the largest the world has ever seen, where we not only care about our country, but we care about the welfare of other countries because we rely on each other in care and love. NATO, the EU is a really good example of countries coming together, showing a caring that crosses borders. This was new when it happened. This had never happened at this scale before. How does this keep occurring, that we keep moving in only one direction? Now, in moving in that direction, does sometimes we step back? Is it always straightforward? No. Society, civilization goes through its ups and downs. But but even as it's doing this, it's spiraling up like this in a consistent way. Good, love, care keeps showing up in larger and larger ways. I like to tell the story that 500 years ago, if you were in an inn eating and the person next to you was killed, you would simply continue eating. It wouldn't have shaken you at all. It was simply part of the fabric of the society back then, that people around you would be hurt and killed. Could you imagine that happening today? Could you imagine anybody whoever they are, sitting anywhere, watching the person next to them get killed without having a reaction to that, without having some sense of care about what just occurred. We continue to advance in the same direction. It's built into the universe. It's built into the fabric of the universe itself, this sense of love and care. When Dr. Holmes talks about the power for good in the universe and we can use it, we are it. It's the fabric of our bones, whether sometimes we feel it or not. We are not separate from this universal directive towards love. More and more people on this planet, there are more people who call themselves spiritual but not religious than at any other point in history. How does that happen? How is this moving in this particular direction? It has to be built into the DNA itself. It has to be built into what is good and what is great and what is wonderful about us as an expression of the universe. It isn't us as an expression of humanity. Humanity is not separate from this universe. We are the expression, the latest expression, at least in this part of the galaxy, of what the universe wants to express. And that directive is clear and shows itself over time. There's this incredible chart that shows how violence has gone down dramatically over the last 50,000 years. Now we look out and the world looks very violent to us. But 50,000 years ago, there were very few people on this planet. And the people who were here were in small tribes. And believe it or not, resources were scarce because they didn't know how to grow stuff. They barely knew how to hunt. Now they learned quickly, but there were other tribes hunting that same grounds. And so they were fighting all the time. Archaeological sites show something in the area of 80% of the skeletons they find had violence done to them. 80% had violence done to them. Now we come forward in time. We come forward to 500 years ago. 500 years, or between the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, 1,000 to 500 years ago. Kings and lords and you know, royalty actually had the right on a peasant's wedding day to sleep with the wife before the husband. And it was the law of the land. And that's what they did. And nobody thought twice about it until somebody did. Until it was time to care about that. I come fast forward and I look at my son. And my son has built into his genes a caring about others that I had to personally work on. That did not come naturally for me. You know, I grew up a white, straight male in a society where originally I didn't care about blacks. I didn't care about gays. That did not come naturally for me. I did not care about the plight of others in other lands. I didn't. I could lie about that, but I didn't. But once I hit my 20s and started looking out into the world, I started realizing that I needed to care. And so I began that journey. But my son, it was like he was born that way. He has it in his DNA. His comfortableness and his care and his willingness to be with other, is not even a willingness. It's just natural for him to see the world as whole. How did that happen? It has to be in the DNA. It has to be moving forth life itself. People talk about systemic change, and I am here to say that if with the right perspective, it's there all the time. We have more women in Congress than ever in the history of the world. Now, people might say, so what? But I say that that's not only a systemic change for the good. Women bring a heartfeltness that men sometimes don't really have, especially straight white dudes like myself. So having women in Congress is a really good idea. When instead of a whole bunch of white straight dudes like myself, who, if they're not working at caring, actually it doesn't come all that naturally. So it's happening. And so let's bring this down to your life personally. Why would you care about this? Why would you care about this perspective? Because it's happening in your life, because it has to. Because you are an expression of the universe. And because you and everything around you is an expression of the universe, by remembering that, you may see the changes like I do. And in seeing them, experience them. And in experiencing them, feel a deeper sense of belonging than you may right now. One of the worst parts of COVID is the sense of separation that we might feel at this time. Being stuck in our own homes, not really being able to interact like we're used to. It's a real chance to feel separate. And I am here to tell you that you are not. That you are not just a child of God. You are an expression of the universe itself. And so is everything around you. You are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the universe in that drop. And so when you feel separate, shift your perspective. You are the Big Bang. You are every star in every galaxy. You are every planet everywhere. You are the DNA of love. You are the DNA of care. And because you exist, the universe is evolving. Right here and right now, everything is evolving forward because of you and because of your connection to it. The more we can remember this, especially in these times, especially when we look out at the drama of the elections, when we look out at the drama of COVID, when we look out at the drama of the violence that is going on throughout the world, it's good to remember that it's way less than it used to be, that this is all heading in one direction, and that you, by being a light bearer of love and connection and care, are a part of that systemic change that is happening right here and now. We couldn't do it without you. It takes all of us. The universe is doing its part. It is put within us and within every generation the next expression towards care, towards love. So you being right here and now is a part of that. You are a part of an incredibly large picture of love, of care. I am grateful for you as part of this expression. I am grateful that you are here now. And I want you to feel it for yourself, being part of something that has gone on for 13 billion years. You know, sometimes when I think about that, it makes me feel so small. 13 billion years, and we're, you know, you can think of yourself as just a blip, but it's actually not like that. We are this 13 billion years. We are. We're not just the blip. Each one of you is that 13 billion years expressing right here and right now. And I love you for that. Thank you.
God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What I give, I receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.